What is going on, y'all? This is Pay Me in Dividends, and today is October 5th, 2025. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, I talk about different ways to make money in the stock market. Now, today is going to be a quick one. I need to talk about Bitcoin. We need to cover Bitcoin because Bitcoin has touched all new time highs, all right? So, here we got it. Bitcoin, 123,000 per coin in real time, October 5th, all right? And an ETF that I want to talk about, which I've spoke about in previous videos, but I need to talk about it some more because I think it's a very important ETF, and I think it can be a great long-term hold. All right, so if you believe in Bitcoin, if you think Bitcoin will continue to increase in value, then this may be an ETF that you want to look at. And the ETF that we're talking about is BTCI from Neos. Now, I do have a position in this ETF. Here's a screenshot of my personal brokerage account. I have 625 shares of BTCI, and I'm so glad I started a position in this ETF before Bitcoin reached all new time highs, right? So I have 625 shares. The current price of BTCI is $62.84, and my cost per share is $62.83. So it literally just crossed over on Friday by 1 cent over my cost per share. Now, I am very curious to see where BTCI opens tomorrow on Monday when the market opens. I want to see where it goes because on Friday Bitcoin closed around, if we go here, we can see on Friday, what was Friday, October 3rd, it looks like it closed around 122, right? But that was at nighttime. That was after the market was closed, right? That was after the stock market was closed. So I assume that BTCI will increase in price opening tomorrow on Monday. All right, so we're going to do a quick rundown on what BTCI is and what it offers and if it can be a good investment for you. All right, so BTCI is the Neos Bitcoin High Income ETF. It does pay on a monthly basis, and it pays a 27% yield. All right, now the expense ratio is 0.98%, but as I always mention in my videos, just keep in mind that these expense ratios for these high yield dividend ETFs tend to be higher than your traditional ETFs like a SPY or a VOO, because these are actively managed. These ETF managers are actively trading options in order to extract that premium out of the options market so that they can pay you out that dividend. All right, so if we go down here to the holdings, you'll notice outside of treasury bills, right, which is basically just cash that they hold in order to make their trades, their biggest holding is HODL, HODL, which is a spot ETF that mirrors the performance of Bitcoin. So if we go over here to HODL ETF, you can see the ticker symbol HODL. And if we go to their website, we can see exactly what they do. All right, so this is a cost efficient exposure to Bitcoin through an ETF. All right, the shares are physically backed by Bitcoin and held in cold storage with a qualified custodian. All right, and then if we go down here to the holdings, you can see 100% of the holdings in this spot ETF is Bitcoin. All right, so to go back to BTCI, we see that a fourth of their underlying assets of BTCI is in HODL, which means that you're getting that upside of Bitcoin. Now, it is a capped upside because they're performing options, right? They're performing options on Bitcoin futures. Right here you can see CBTX, this is Bitcoin futures, and so you are getting a capped upside, but you're still getting a portion of that growth when Bitcoin goes up, and at the same time you're getting that monthly income. And so that is one of my favorite things about BTCI. along with the consistent payments, right? They have kept their dividend payouts above $1 a share since inception. There's not much fluctuation in the payments. It will vary from month to month depending on the options and the volatility of Bitcoin that given month, and Bitcoin futures that given month. But all in all, Neos tends to be pretty consistent with their dividend payments, even with their other ETFs. All right, so that's just something to keep in mind. And then one more thing I want to show you guys is, consistency pays off, right? So if we go back to Bitcoin, remember earlier this year, during Liberation Day, during the whole tariff debacle with the US and whatnot, right? The entire index, including Bitcoin, dropped, right? Bitcoin was sitting around $86,000 in March. Early April, it dropped all the way down to 75,000, and then eventually it recovered. But I remember when Bitcoin dropped, I saw a lot of comments on social media, different creators and things like that on social media, or just random people on social media saying that Bitcoin is a scam and Bitcoin, oh, it's going down, you're going to lose all your money. But first of all, the entire index dropped, so that doesn't make sense, right? You kind of got to, it's kind of a silly thing to say, right? When the NASDAQ and the S&P drops 10 to 12% in 1 week, all assets are expected to go down, right? So it wasn't very surprising. But the best part was that Bitcoin recovered along with everything else, and now we are seeing all new time highs. And so the reason why I'm pulling up strategy.com is to show the consistency that Michael Saylor has had with buying Bitcoin, right? So you can see all the dates that he buys, and it's during the highs, it's during the lows. We can see he bought on April 14th when Bitcoin was around 82,000, and as it went up into the 90s and back into the hundreds, he continued to buy, with his most recent purchase being on April 29th, September 29th, 2025. And I think it's safe to say that Michael Saylor will continue to acquire Bitcoin on behalf of his company Strategy. All right, so this is just a real life example of somebody who was extremely bullish on Bitcoin and has built or evolved his entire company around Bitcoin, even changing the name from MicroStrategy to Strategy. So it's not to say that you have to be this all in on Bitcoin, but it does say something when you have somebody who has the amount of wealth as Michael Saylor is so bullish on Bitcoin and is buying during the lows and during the highs. It says something, right? So I think Bitcoin has a lot more to go. I think we're still early in the grand scheme of things when we're zooming out 5, 10, 20 years. But I think this is a good sign for Bitcoin. And you got to remember, too, the halving was April 2024, right? April 2024 was the halving. And so you have to consider that typically 12 to 18 months after each Bitcoin halving is usually when the market pumps, right? When Bitcoin pumps. So this most recent cycle is projected right around this time where we are right now. We're seeing it in real time now through early 2026 is when there's a strong uptrend for Bitcoin's price. All right, so we're living in the times right now where we went through the halving, we went through the acquisition phase, we went through the ebbs and flows, and now we're starting to see Bitcoin find its footing again and increase in value. Right, so you guys let me know, what do you think about Bitcoin in general, any other Bitcoin income ETFs where you can take advantage of this volatility, and what do you think about BTCI? I've seen a few people in my comments say that they like BTCI and that they have positions in BTCI. Let me know, if you do have BTCI, how many shares do you have? How much income are you making off of it? And do you plan on adding into your position? All right, so you guys let me know in the comments. As always, I appreciate you stopping by the channel, and I will catch you in the next video.